everyone. I'm Dee, and this is my BFF and feline life mate, Stud. Today, we thought we'd discuss the story of Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker. It's one of extraordinary highs and crushing lows. From their humble beginnings in ministry to becoming some of the most influential televangelists of their time, the Bakkers captivated millions with their charm, faith, and extravagant lifestyle. However, their meteoric rise was followed by a dramatic fall, filled with scandal, financial misconduct, and public disgrace. Yet, like it or not, they became symbols of resilience and reinvention, leaving behind a complex legacy that still continues to intrigue the public today. James Orson Bakker was born in Muskegon, Michigan on January 2, 1940. Bakker attended North Central University, a Minneapolis Bible college affiliated with the Assemblies of God, and worked at a restaurant in the Young Quinlan department store in Minneapolis. Tamara Faye LaValle was born on March 7, 1942, in International Falls, Minnesota, to Pentecostal preachers Rachel Minnie and Carl Oliver. In 1960, Tammy Faye met Jim Bakker while attending the same university, North Central University. It didn't matter that Jim was already engaged to another woman. He began dating and ultimately married Tammy Faye on April 1, 1961. In 1962, the couple moved to South Carolina, where they began their ministry together, traveling throughout the United States. Jim preached the gospel, while Tammy Faye sang songs and played the accordion. In 1966, Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker started working for Pat Robertson's Christian Broadcasting Network, aka CBN, in Virginia, which wasn't all that big at the time. The Bakkers helped grow the network by hosting a kids show called Come On Over, where they did funny skits and used puppets to connect with the children. The show was a hit, and because of that success, Robertson gave Jim the chance to host a new primetime talk show called The 700 Club, which eventually became the network's most popular program. In 1970, Tammy Faye gave birth to the first of two children, a daughter named Tammy Sue Sissy Bakker. In 1973, the Bakkers left CBN and joined with Paul and Jan Crouch to help co-found the Trinity Broadcasting Network, aka TBN, in California. However, this partnership lasted only 8 months until a falling out between Jim and Paul caused the Bakkers to eventually leave the new network. While still under the TBN umbrella, the Bakkers moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, where in May of the same year they launched an East Coast version of Praise the Lord, aka PTL, which they initially hosted in an abandoned furniture store. Less than a year later, the Bakkers formed their own nonprofit organization and registered the PTL trademark. In 1974, Bakker founded the PTL Satellite Network, which aired the PTL Club, a 700 Club-style program, as well as other religious television programs through local affiliate TV stations across the U.S. With Jim as the charismatic leader and Tammy Faye's larger-than-life personality, their show, the PTL Club, became a massive success, generating $120 million annually in the 1970s. They preached prosperity, salvation, and hope, captivating millions of viewers across America. In 1975, Tammy gave birth to their second child, a son named Jamie Charles Bakker. In 1978, at the peak of their success, the Bakkers used $200 million of PTL funds to build Heritage USA, a Christian-themed resort that was located in Fort Mill, South Carolina. The park had all kinds of attractions, including a 12-acre water park and a recreation of the Upper Room, where Jesus had his Last Supper. At its peak, the park was massive, 10 times bigger than Disneyland in California and 20 times the size of Orlando's Magic Kingdom, according to Religion and Politics. It attracted millions of visitors, rivaling even Disney World. Have you ever been to Heritage USA? If so, let me know in the comments below. It looked like it was a blast. Viewer contributions to PTL were estimated to exceed $1 million a week. Holy crap! With proceeds to expand the Heritage USA and the PTL Club's mission. During her time on the PTL Club, Tammy Faye tackled taboo subjects otherwise unfitting for a fundamental Christian audience. On Tammy's House Party, a segment of the PTL Club, Tammy discussed drug use, AIDS, and showed support for the LGBTQ+ community. During one segment, Tammy Faye addressed her viewership saying, "How sad that we as Christians, who are to be the salt of the earth, We who are supposed to be able to love everyone are afraid so badly of an AIDS patient that we will not go up and put our arm around them and tell them that we care. Unfortunately, with fame and fortune came scandals, and the downfall of the Bakkers and the PTL empire was imminent. In 1987, allegations against Jim Bakker began to surface. Church Secretary Jessica Hahn accused Jim of sexual misconduct. He paid her off using PTL funds funneled through Roe Messner, Tammy Faye's eventual future second husband, in the amount of $279,000, which is equivalent to $748,250 in today's money. Word got out and caused a media frenzy. But the sexual scandal was only the beginning for Jim Bakker. Investigations revealed that he had been involved in a massive financial fraud, misusing millions of dollars from the ministry. In 1985, an IRS report found that between 1980 and 1983, Jim and Tammy Faye had used $1.3 million from the ministry for their own personal gain. The report even suggested that PTL should lose its tax-exempt status, but nothing happened until the Jessica Hahn scandal blew up in '87. According to Washington Post writers Art Harris and Michael Isikoff, politics might have been the reason no action was taken. It seems some members of the Reagan administration weren't too keen on going after TV ministers, especially since a lot of their supporters were evangelical voters. But this wasn't Bakker's first financial fuck-up. In 1979, Jim Bakker and PTL got into hot water when the FCC started looking into claims that they were misusing money raised on their TV show, The PTL Club. By 1982, the FCC report found that Bakker had raised $350,000, supposedly earmarked for overseas missions, but instead the Bakkers used the money for part of Heritage USA. The report also revealed that the Bakkers were using PTL funds to cover their personal expenses and lavish lifestyles. I remember the media distinctly making a big deal out of their air-conditioned doghouses, as if the doggos didn't deserve it. Anyway, despite all this, the FCC commissioners voted 4-3 to drop the investigation. After that, Bakker was allowed to sell his only TV station, which meant no more FCC oversight. The FCC handed their findings over to the Department of Justice, but they didn't press charges, simply saying there wasn't enough evidence. Did this stop Bakker from his over-the-top fundraising efforts? Nope. In fact, he used the investigation to his benefit, asking viewers to, quote, give the devil a black eye, while rattling his can on TV. On March 19, 1987, after the disclosure of a payoff to Hahn, Bakker resigned from PTL. Fellow televangelist Jerry Falwell, founder of both the Moral Majority with Pat Robertson and Liberty University, took over the reins from Bakker, who assumed this would be a temporary arrangement. However, just a month later, on April 28, 1987, Falwell barred the Bakkers from returning, citing their lavish lifestyle and Jim's illicit behavior, including allegations that Jim had made sexual advances towards men, as the reason why. With Falwell at the helm of PTL Ministries, contributions dwindled. Without the Bakkers in the PTL Club, rebuilding the ministry was impossible. In October 1987, Falwell and the board resigned. As reported by the Charlotte Observer, Bakker and his PTL team sold $1,000 lifetime memberships to donors, promising them an annual 3-night stay at a luxury hotel at the Heritage USA property. But according to prosecutors at his fraud trial, they sold tens of thousands of these memberships, even though only one 500-room hotel had actually been built. Bakker also sold exclusive partnerships far beyond the hotel's capacity, raising more than double the money needed to complete it. A lot of that moolah went to covering Heritage USA's expenses, but Bakker pocketed $3.4 million for himself. After a 16-month federal investigation, Bakker was indicted in 1988 on multiple counts of mail and wire fraud, plus conspiracy. In 1989, after a 5-week trial in Charlotte, North Carolina, the jury found him guilty on all 24 charges. He was sentenced to 45 years in federal prison and fined $500,000. Tammy Faye stood by her man, for a bit. In 1992, while Jim was in prison, Tammy Faye filed for divorce, saying in a letter to the New Covenant Church in Orlando, Florida, "For years I have been pretending that everything is all right, when in fact I hurt all the time. I cannot pretend anymore." On October 3, 1993, Tammy Faye married property developer Roe Messner in Rancho Mirage, California. Yes, that Roe Messner, the one who produced the hush money for Jessica Hahn. Apparently, he billed PTL for work never completed on the Jerusalem Amphitheater at Heritage USA and used that money to pay off Hahn. Not to get too far off track here, but Messner himself was convicted of bankruptcy fraud in 1996. He was sentenced to and served 27 months in prison. While Jim faced the consequences of his actions, Tammy Faye became an unlikely symbol of resilience. Known for her trademark makeup and emotional vulnerability, she refused to hide. She appeared on talk shows, expressing her devotion to her faith and her desire to move forward. Though their fall was steep, Tammy Faye would go on to reclaim some of her public image, becoming an icon of forgiveness and strength for many. In her later years, she became a figure of empathy, known for advocating for LGBTQ+ rights and speaking out about love and acceptance. Remember the Jim J and Tammy Faye show? That show was a hoot. According to IMDb, it only lasted for one season, but I swear it was on for years. Maybe it just felt that way. Naturally, Jim Bakker appealed his sentence, and the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit upheld his conviction on the fraud and conspiracy charges. However, they voided his 45-year prison sentence and $500,000 fine and ordered a new sentencing hearing in February of 1991. In November 1992, Bakker had a hearing to reduce his sentence, and it got cut down to just 8 years. By August 1993, he was moved to FCI Jessup, a minimum security federal prison in Jessup, Georgia. He was eventually paroled in July of 1994 after serving nearly 5 years of his full, reduced sentence. To the surprise of absolutely no one, Jim Bakker found himself back in televangelism. In 2003, Bakker began broadcasting the Daily Jim Bakker Show at Studio City Cafe in Branson, Missouri, with his second wife, Lori, where they now discuss all things apocalyptic. His show has a millennial survivalist focus where he hawks buckets of freeze-dried food and other gear in preparation for end times.
Show you something. All this food is for a gift of $2,500. 8 years of bulk food. This is what you should be doing.
Wow.
John, you come on. You're the rights preacher. You told me to do this. Look at, they got shovels. By the way, get a shovel. These are foldable shovels. It'll go in your backpacks. This is how you dig the latrine. We made up, they've been cooking during the show.
Wow.
And this rice is hot. Woo, it just made.
Yes, it just came out.
Wow, that's good.
Oh, I mean, they just cooked this rice, you know. I'm hungry. I've been on this show for about 5 hours. I shouldn't put my hands in it. I love you, man.
I love you too.
In spring 2020, Jim Bakker had what his son described as a minor stroke. His wife, Lori, blamed it on Jim's hard work. On July 8th, 2020, Jim was back in the studio. Sadly, Tammy Faye passed away on July 20th, 2007, just 2 days after a heartbreaking appearance on Larry King. She had been living with colon cancer for the better part of 11 years, and it showed. She was unable to eat solid food by then and weighed a mere 65 pounds.
What's your favorite Bible verse for gaining peace and getting through hard times?
My favorite one is
Romans 8:28.
Romans 8:28. For we know that all things work together for good to those that love God and those that are called according to his purpose.
She was 65 years old. The rise and fall of Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker is a cautionary tale of power, faith, and human frailty. Yet, it's also a story of reinvention and survival. Their legacy, complicated as it may be, continues to fascinate the world today. Fame, fortune, faith. The story of Jim and Tammy Faye Bakker. It's a reminder that even the highest peaks can come crashing down. But sometimes there is a chance for redemption. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share for more captivating stories. TTFN, ta-ta for now.
In the
no guilt, just joy and peace.
Yes.
If you got food and friends, well, you got a plan. Take it, Joe.